I'm going to put down 1/2-inch cement board on top of the plywood subfloor. There are lots of different ways you can cut this. They say you can score it with a sharp knife and snap it, but I haven't found it that easy to do. For straight cuts, I use a circular saw with a masonry blade. And then for the round hole for the toilet flange, it's easy to cut that with a jigsaw. By the way, I didn't mention it in the previous video when I was installing the toilet drain, but I've positioned the drain to be a standard 12 inches from the finished wall at the back, and just a little more than 15 inches from the wall where the window is. The building code says you need to have at least 15 inches of space on both sides of the toilet. I screwed everything down with screws that are meant for cement board. These have extra sharp points to make it easy to get the screw started, and they have grooves under the screw head that help the screw to dig into the cement board. For the curbless shower, the pan is 1 1/4 inches thick, which is the same thickness as the 3/4 inch plywood subfloor and the 1/2-inch cement board combined. So what I did was I set the top of the plywood that's under the shower pan to be at the same height as the bottom of the plywood for the rest of the floor. This gives me the 1 1/4 inch recess that I need. Then I'll tape all of the joints with fiberglass mesh tape and then apply a thin coat of thin-set mortar over the joints. I'll also fill that gap where the open joist is with some thin set. Even if there is some wood movement that causes the thin set to crack, I'm not too worried about it because the shower pan will act as a buffer between the floor and the tile. And then I'll cover the whole area with thin set so that the curdy shower pan can adhere to the subfloor. I'm using a Schluter Curdy waterproof membrane. It's not the cheapest way to waterproof a shower, but it works well. And that's why I was able to use regular drywall on the walls instead of cement board. I suddenly realized that I had forgotten to screw the shower niche into place, so I'm using these screws specially made for that purpose. Then I'll apply the Curdy membrane, and I'm wrapping it around the corner a few inches so that the next sheet can overlap by at least 2 inches. And then I'll push out all of the air pockets to make sure it's fully in contact with the thin set. You need to make sure that this is fully bonded to the drywall because this is what the tile is going to stick to. If the membrane isn't stuck to the wall, then the tile won't be very secure. I'll cut out a little hole for where the handheld shower nozzle will connect. Then I'll use this 5-inch Kerdi membrane to cover up the seam where the shower pan meets the rest of the floor so that water will not leak through. And then I'll cut out the opening for the niche. While that is setting up, I'll install the toilet flange. I chose to use one that inserts into the drain so that I don't have to add another short piece of 4-inch pipe to connect the flange to the drain. Then I very quickly screwed it down to the floor before the cement had a chance to cure. After waiting a while for the thin set to cure a bit, I came back and put in some special membranes for the corners to make sure they remain waterproof. I put in 2 inside corners. And then I put in this one outside corner for the short wall where the shower faucet is. Then I'll put a gasket seal around the pipe for the handheld nozzle. I didn't put one around the mixing valve because the Kerdi mixing valve seal has a round hole for most standard faucets, but the one we're using is larger and rectangular, but it's far away from the shower head, so it won't be a problem. Next, I'll connect the drain adapter to the P-trap that's directly below. I'll put some thin set beneath the drain adapter so that it adheres to the shower pan. And then I'll put more thin set on top to cover it with a special waterproof membrane that's made specifically for this.